Yeah. Hello and welcome to this Twitch stream. It's a bit of a late start here on Saturday, at least on my end, but I wanted to do something about the candidates tournament. I hope somebody is around. I've got somebody in the chat. Hello to Elagila878. You're the first around. So I want to cover the candidates a little bit, and I have to say that I haven't watched all that much about it, simply because today I was quite busy and I only had the opportunity to, like, once in a while have a look at what was going on. So I know the results, and I only vaguely know how the games went. So like, I know the openings and so on, but I don't know, for example, how Kramnik won or how Mamedyarov won or so. So I want to look through the games and just want to convey my impressions as I go through them. I'm using the lead chess study here, really nice feature. And first of all, I'd like to do it without the engine. I will definitely use the engine at some point, but I don't want to have it on the whole time so that we stare at the evaluation together. Yeah, that is something I want to try. If, however, the situation gets very complicated and I don't really know what to make of it, I will use the computer. It wouldn't make any sense to completely completely ignore it. It's a good advice to have. So I want to look through all 4 games. So it might take a while. I'm not going to be on for 3 hours. I cannot do that, but I want to cover a little bit. You will have to use the engine in the Aronian game. It's sick. Okay. Yeah, the Aronian game is the draw, and it's not a... Oh, it actually has some engine evaluation here in the study. Okay. Huh. Okay. Okay, I mean, I don't really hate it if it's there, yeah, but let's use it. I mean, I just used this here. That was already in here. This study. I could have used something else maybe without any evals. Okay, let's have a look. Aronian Ding. We'll start with that. That's the draw. So, oops, we have the Mykonos variation in the English opening. This is one of the reasons why I always liked c4, knight c3. This line, the Mykonos with e4, is yeah, I think it's objectively quite good, and it's really a killer on the club level because people have no clue how to answer it. On the professional level, of course, they know how to deal with this opening. So black goes d5. That is the best move. e5, d4. This is how black should play. That's the best possible way of playing for black. Takes. Yeah, and here white can also take on g7, but this is just very boring. Yeah, this kind of thing. This sometime that at some point was played against me when I was black, and I really, after like here, nothing much happens. That's very boring. The better move is b takes, what Aronian played. Queen takes. Yeah, here white has a choice. You can play knight to f3 or d4. There are some differences between the two move order nuances. But I think d4 is natural enough, so let's do this. And the ding goes b6. This is interesting. Yeah, okay, I have not prepared this this broadcast. I just make it up as I go along. So something that you could look up. b6 is not the main move. They traditionally go e5 here, but I always felt that white has a slight pull there. Not that much, but a little bit. This is what is the traditional main line, at least is. A typical way of playing there is knight f3 takes and bishop g5. This is how they often play. Queen e6, bishop e2, f6, knight d4, queen f7. This is what I remember here about the theory. I'm sorry. So this is an alternative. Ding played b6. Okay. And now h4 by Aronian. That's a funny move. Yeah, this is the kind of yeah, and Wesley So is a club level killer. Yeah, the problem is that people often just have no clue what they want to do. I even had e5 played against me, which is very lame. Or people play this after e5, queen g4, you're already toast. Now here black has to go back, yeah, with bishop f8, great stuff. Or they play, what I also had, they play c5, e5, knight g8, knight f3, knight c6, take. And now after this, white has a great compensation already. But yeah, people play like this, for example. Yeah, c5 takes, bishop f4 resigns, for example. There are many lines that are terrible for black if they play somewhat suboptimal. So we go to the game. Yeah, let's have a look at the game. h4, interesting. It's not something I'm aware of as a move. Yeah, it's a kind of surprise that is probably interesting to play. White is probably not going to be worse, and black will maybe yeah, have never prepared that in any detail. Yeah, so bishop g5 is obviously the idea. Bishop b7 played by Ding. Would be nice to see the time spent, yeah. But anyway, bishop b7, that looks like the most natural move ever. Bishop g5 attacking the queen, and queen to f5. Okay. No, he only has g6 and f5, and f5 looks a little bit more logical. Also, because you get this. Oh, thanks for subscribing. That bishop is a beast. Okay, the queen now has queen a5 available, and this is what happens next. After queen g6, you don't have that available. Yeah, so understandable decision. Bishop d3, that was certainly something that Aronian had prepared and expected. And now, okay, this is hanging and the pawn is hanging. So you have to, you cannot cover it both. And he goes king to f1. Okay, that's crazy stuff. Knight c6. Okay, that looks like a normal developing move. Yeah, here what the engine earlier here auto commentated here was inaccuracy. Best move was bishop d6. What to do with this information? First of all, I'd like to see just out of curiosity why exactly that could not be taken. I mean, it looks very risky and it's not an important pawn to take, but I just want to check it briefly. Is it just knight e2, or is there something even more of an issue? That's true, yeah, you cannot see the computer assessment for black. I mean, if it is there, I might as well display it. How do I actually change that here in the stream? It's not part of it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, yeah, I'm from Germany, but I'm not from Bielefeld. I don't have anything to say against Bielefeld, but I'm not from there. I simply don't have this. I can actually, you know what I can do? I can reduce the zoom level a little bit. And you see that. And you see the eval, but I should probably, you know, if I do this capture, I probably should do this anew, but I don't really know how. Okay, it has everything that there is. Just a second there, please. So this. It looks kind of weird, yeah. I mean, if it is there, I might as well display it, but it's also the left-hand side doesn't really help, you know. I might as well make the whole thing a little bit bigger. And now my face is there. Ah, what am I doing here? Like this? That also looks bad. I should have just kept it as it was, yeah. Okay, that's great. That better? I don't know. I think it's okay, yeah? Or can I can actually, you know what I can do? I can get rid of that and make it a little bit bigger. That's probably the best I can do. No, I think it's okay, yeah. That I can put over here, yeah. And now I think it's okay. Let's do it. Let's do it from here. Yeah. Now for me the screen is a bit smallish. Anyway, let's have a look. So white definitely has compensation with knight e2 or something like that. The pawn on c3 is not really that important, but I don't think there's something particularly dangerous that there's no direct refutation. I mean, well, this is an unimportant pawn, c3. It's not an important pawn. So I think a sensible developing move makes sense. Bishop d6 or knight c6 makes sense. So knight c6, rook b1. Yeah, this is now a little bit under pressure. Black goes f6. f6, okay. Yeah, black cannot castle. Yeah, that is a problem. He cannot castle long. So I guess I get it. Yeah, f6. No, I'm not going to play a tournament on 1 o'clock. Definitely not. I'm trying to cover the candidates here a little bit. So bishop d2, castles long. I have to play a tournament game tomorrow. And I shouldn't do this in the first place, but I wanted. So castles long and a4. Okay. Yeah, if you ask me, that must be a good position for white. The king on f1 isn't a problem, and somehow black's queen looks in danger. So e5 and c5. Wow. c5. Interesting. I would have thought that something normalish. No, that's not a theoretical position. I think h4 already is quite weird. Is there something bad about knight e2 here? Yeah, Clash geht anders, and I read what you said, but we're not at the final position yet. So, okay, knight e2. I just wonder if he with c5 is a drastic move, and I understand he wants to get the queen there. Yeah, you can try that, but you can try this here. But here, you know, you're not threatening to move the rook because the bishop is not protected at all. Yeah, you're not threatening rook b6 or any rook move as d3 hangs with check. So this is a little bit too, maybe a bit too direct. But you can probably develop. Yeah, that I don't see a direct issue with that. Yeah, this is interesting though. I mean, if you look at this now, black can play this. It was certainly an option, knight e2. I don't think there's something particularly wrong about it. But he waited c5, okay, and black snatched that. Yeah, e5 was a sharp move. Yeah? I mean, black tries to do something in the center. But let's check this, c5. This. So now, okay, I see rook h3 covering the bishop. So this is actually now threatening to move the rook. And black took on d4. Oh, okay. Okay. So even the draw, yeah, was a completely bonkers game. I don't get it. What? Bishop e2 was played. Okay. I can now move this rook. Oh wow, I tried to do that without the engine. That's a really tall order. So I mean, if I do this, yeah, just for fun. The queen has no move, yeah? No move at all. But if I take, there's a check. So I can simply capture here, right? This. And black is probably killing, yeah? Something like that is a disaster, yeah? Okay, that's terrible. Rook e5 looks bad anyway, but still. And I could move the rook also somewhere else and then take on d4. I mean, the queen only has a5 available. What the heck? Yeah, the queen cannot just take the bishop here. There's a rook on h3. That's really weird. I know, but I would be curious to know what happens here exactly. If I take the piece, what is black doing then? Just knight d4. Oh my god. I would lose that game with both colors easily. I mean, very easily. I mean, I absolutely believe that black should be okay. Yeah, like my intuition tells me it should be, but this is just crazy, completely crazy. So what did Levon do? Bishop e2. Wow. Okay, I mean, I see the point. Yeah, here it is completely safe, and this is the threat or idea, let's say. I'm not sure if it's really threatening. So what did Ding do? Rook d6. That is not... How can you come up with that move? Like, just like, why is that even a candidate? What does Rook d6 do? Well, I'm not quite sure what he should play though. I mean, white is threatening to move it, and the best move was bishop a8 according to the engine for queen b7. Oh, forget about it. Nobody plays that. Okay, so rook d6 was played. And now we know that the engine didn't like that and felt rook b2 is stronger than rook b1. In the game there was rook b1 and they made a draw here. Okay. And we know that the engine said rook b2 is stronger. I mean, first of all, in the actual game, if I take it here, what's going on there? And like queen d5 or something, or what's happening? I mean, has to be, yeah? The queen has no other move. I have no clue what's going on. Is that bad for white? I mean, it's possible. Black already has a bunch of pawns, and of course that lineup on the long diagonal here is very, very problematic. One difference between rook here and rook b1, yeah, is definitely that this is covered. So in the yeah, you're right here, Clashkit. This is the line that the engine is showing. Here you can actually take, yeah, as this is covered. So here f takes, and queen to b3. And it seems that the engine gives white a substantial advantage here. It's possible. I mean, just in terms of material, white is ahead. And if there isn't anything special going on, it must be fine. Yeah, it's still an extremely weird position. So I kind of understand that the engine could give an advantage there, but it's really tough. Rook b1 instead, yeah, and then they made this draw. Yeah, it's possible that here Aronian didn't really have a choice. Yeah, that's really possible. I mean, for example, here, if you take, I think knight takes is the problem, threatening on g2 and on d2, and you cannot cover it at the same time. And if you cannot take on e5, what exactly are you playing? Nothing really great. Nothing great that's obvious here. No. Yeah, I understand why they made a draw here. I mean, black after rook b5 and cannot avoid it anyway. Yeah? Black has to make the draw. The queen has no squares. I know. I don't think this is hard to see that rook. That is the difference. I think that's easy to see that this is covered. The problem is that it's still difficult to evaluate and come up to a conclusion that this would be fine for white. This is the thing. You see, I'll be in Berlin starting Friday, and I'm doing 4 rounds of live commentary in German at the site. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, this is just difficult to evaluate. Maybe even he came up to this point. I mean, this is the engine line here. And something irritated him, which is very understandable. It's just a very wacky position. And black has 2 pawns. I mean, this is not enough like on paper, but it's easy to imagine that there's a 3rd pawn somehow taken, and then things light up. Okay, I mean, there are 3 decisive games, and I feel they are, or I heard they were long, so we should look at those maybe. But that was a crazy game, an interesting game. So, is there any preference for what game to check next? Any preference? Yeah, this is tough to analyze, yeah, because it's purely tactical. I mean, if you analyze that like here in this setting, I would really need more time, yeah, because I mean, those guys are much better players than I am, and if I want to do it without the engine, it's tough, yeah. So anything Karjakin last, okay. Caruana, Fabiano. Okay, let's go Caruana. This was, I think it was a Catalan. Yeah, I saw that it was a Catalan, and that is all that I knew. Okay, so I like to say so anyway, and with Wesley So playing, it will probably get overkilled. Okay, so check. And black goes d5. Yeah, just one thing. This check on b4 and then going back to e7, that's very commonly seen in the Catalan, and I think many people don't quite get what this actually accomplishes. The bishop is on d2, and to understand why this check makes sense, it is advisable to look at the position a couple of moves later. So especially, or in particular here, black now does not take on c4, but plays c6 to support his center. He's playing a closed center structure, not taking on c4. Here, white has the move bishop d2 extra. Yeah, bishop b4 check and back. So white was gifted this move. We should actually look at the same position without the check to understand what the difference is. So this would be this position. Here, for example, white can play queen c2 or knight d2. And I'm starting with knight d2 to show the point. That is, of course, not possible with the bishop sitting on that square. After knight d2, knight d7, queen c2, b6, e4, white is getting c4, e4 in quite quickly. And the bishop oftentimes later will be nicely positioned on b2. So for example, bishop b2, b3, rook c8, bishop b2, c5, takes. This variation is a theoretical line. Can I get the same with the bishop on a6 and so on, but I just want to show the bishop is here ideally placed and the knight is on d2 supporting the pawn. So d takes, knight c4 is possible. And in our position, white now obviously doesn't have knight b to d2. He can try something else, of course, but how are you going to ever get to this kind of position again, where you have the bishop on the long diagonal and the knight somewhere? You could try to somehow regroup this with bishop c3, knight d2, but the issue is, are you playing this now? Really? Black might take this all of a sudden, and then silly. It looks silly. And whatever white does, it's a little bit of a hassle to correct this. The bishop is actually not well placed on d2, and that is the reason why white players normally switch to an entirely different play there. You have a hard time to get e4 in, is the problem. And oftentimes they play bishop f4, yeah, and in the game that happened. You can even play bishop f4 here, and after knight h5, drop it back to c1, and then knight to f6. This has happened, yeah, as Fuchsia said. Yeah, this is something that has happened in games. In the game here, queen to b3 is played, covering the pawn. Knight bd7, and now bishop f4. Yeah, white has to somehow move this again. It's really not good on d2. So f4 is a good square. Yeah, here black has a couple of ideas available. There's a5, that is what So played. Black can also play in a more, let's say, natural way with b6, for example, something like this, b6. And now white can also play rook to c1. The f rook now can go directly to c1, and white has white tries to play with the pieces here and potentially take on d5. So for example, bishop b7, and then the capture is possible. There are some interesting points there already. Yeah? Here the bishop and rook are on c7, so black has to see if he's able to take this, in fact. Yeah, this is not clear to me at this particular moment, if this is an issue. Rook c7 looks a little bit annoying, at least. Maybe bishop a6 is possible. That's true. There's a remark, why not knight h5 there? Yes, definitely possible. Yeah, for example, after here, I mean, black could go knight h5 immediately. That's possible. Or after b6, you can still play knight h5, harassing this bishop. So there are a couple of options. The move a5 looks a bit mysterious, but it can sometimes attack the queen with a tempo, and it can prepare the move b5. Yeah, I only looked at the Aronian game. That can prepare the move b5, and we will see in the game that this happens. So rook d1, that makes sense. Yeah, hello to chess guy 444. Knight h5. Yeah, black is kicking this. Bishop c1. Okay. Yeah, it looks a bit odd, yeah, but we have seen that the bishop is not does not have a clearly preferable square, let's say. You can sometimes put it here, but I think against this kind of idea, oftentimes f5 is played, and you have to be worried about this sometimes. Not hugely worried, but okay, bishop c1, and black just drops back. Yeah, it's really always funny, yeah, that they go h5, going back, and then going back to f6. But yeah, white is sort of, it's not clear what white will do here. So he tried knight bd2, probably preparing queen c2 and e4 after all. Yeah, and now b5. And here we see why a5 is has a point. Yeah, if white now decides to snatch this, there is bishop a6. That's only possible with the pawn on a5, not with the pawn on a7. This in fact looks pretty terrible, yeah, because white has just given up e2, which is not what we want. e2 is much better pawn than b5. So no good. And in fact the capture already looks wrong, yeah. In this position the knight on d2 looks weird. The only thing that it could do from here would be trying to get to c5, but black here is much quicker with bishop a6, b4 and so on. Here black is already probably better. So c5 played by Caruana. This is the normal reaction to those b5 ideas, to grab the space. The thing that c5 often invites is black playing e5. And this is, I think, when I see what happened in the game, is that happened. Yeah, e5 was played. An important thing here is that if black does absolutely nothing, I mean like nothing, white will go queen c2 and e4. So we can, I just want to show what happens if black plays nonsense. Yeah, like this, and whatever. I'm just making some moves. Then e4 is going to be better. It's important to see that if this happens, this kind of trade, at first you might think, oh, black gets this great square on e5 for the knight. This is true, the knight is nicely placed on d5, but there is still huge problems there, because white also has squares, namely e4. It's an excellent square that black cannot fight for at all. I mean, you cannot go f5, never. Yeah, even, I mean, here it would blunder e6, but it's also strategically terrible. So you get e4 and oftentimes e5 as well as white, because again f6, ugh, cannot play that. So white is having much better of it. This looks pretty, but white has clearly the better game here. Note that this is of course a terrible piece. Black has to be more active, and I think that's what he did. Yeah, he played b4 and a4, trying to harass white. I think now e4 was not played. Yeah, if e4, okay, is b3 even on? I mean, b3 would be tactically possible. Yeah, it's a move to check. Yeah, you cannot take it, as this is a double attack on both. That's ugly. Yeah, bishop to c1. Yeah, the undeveloping. Yeah, but it's actually on this, in this particular case, it makes sense to put it there. Yeah. Here you can take with a knight. Yeah, you can take with a knight, but black is happy to win this. Yeah. After b3, this is probably necessary. And I'm not sure what this is, what this means here, this position. Yeah, it looks a bit strange. I mean, this is more active anyway for black. Yeah. So rook e1 was played. Simply preparing this. And now black is striking first with e5. Interesting. Yeah, okay. That's an active choice. And the knight was taking it. Okay, if you take with the pawn. Very tactical now. Yeah? Black is trying to solve his problems by tactical means. So knight takes e5. Let's have a look at this. Knight takes, pawn takes. I think this looks a little bit more logical anyway, yeah, to take with the knight on f3, because now you're actually allowed to play this quickly and the bishop c1 comes out again. So there is some logic here. Knight to d7, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can take, you can look at this. You can definitely look at this. The question could be, like, if they do this, yeah, with black, what you're doing now. The knight on d2 has nothing, nowhere to go. And I mean, for example, this could be an issue. Well, like if you do any of those, bishop a6, yeah. Well, I'm not sure. It's very, very tough to evaluate and quickly, like I'm trying to do it now. But this, it makes a more logical impression to me. It's more fluent. Let's say the pieces are more fluent here. Takes, and knight f3. So this comes out, and we are a little bit better mobilized here. Bishop takes c5. Okay. Yeah, that's knight g5. Yeah, and he played knight g5. This is a problem. But if you like, if he does that, I think this looks also a bit questionable. Yeah, bishop e3 at first looks like a problem. Well, attacking this, and c6 is also under pressure. It also doesn't look great. So bishop was the choice, and knight g5. Always feels good to threaten mate in one somehow. So g6, and this is a weakness. That's really a weakness. That knight now is a nuisance. Yeah? It has enormous nuisance value because h6 is a real weakening, and like f6, knight e6. Wow. I mean, not now, it would be just a patsy, yeah? But this idea is always in the position. I feel that this is a little bit, that's already a bit awkward for black, yeah? Or what do you think? What is the opinion of the chat? I would assume that black is already a little bit awkward state here. I have no clue what the engine says. Yeah, there is no, we don't have it turned on. But what do you say? I just decided that at some points I'm going to ask the engineer and just compare what we think. I would assume for a human player that this makes, it's a little bit iffy. Yeah, the king side looks a bit weak. I would assume that white is a bit better. Yeah, I think. Chess guy says black has a strategic pawn structure advantage. I don't see that. Where is the pawn structure advantage? The double pawn? I don't think so. Yeah, I would assume that white is a bit better here. Yeah, let's just, I switch it on for a moment and see what happens. The engine gives white, I mean, this is just a very, very quick evaluation. The engine gives white a small advantage. Yeah, it's not a huge depth, just a small advantage. Yeah, this is probably what it is. Yeah, I mean, the engine defends everything perfectly, yeah, or as close to what we think is perfect. So what looks scary sometimes to us is not so scary for the computer. So bishop f4, that looks very natural, and black goes queen b6 for a counterplay against the pawn on f2. Yeah, now e4 looks normal. To me, white looks better here. I mean, okay, I'm a natural optimist, but if I would have that in a game, I would be very optimistic about my chances. Simply, I have more pieces near the king. That's really a point. For example, my queen can switch over, something like that I feel is happening in the game, queen e2 here. So the queen can go over here, and then black has tons of pieces there on the queen side. And especially e4 is problematic. Black can never take this pawn. Like here, yeah, there's knight takes, and then it's awful. And we are threatening to take, and black's king position feels undefended. I think that doesn't look good. So, okay, b3 was played by Wesley So. Take, queen e2. And bishop a6, and really, bishop a6 to c4. Wow. Okay, I'm going out on a limb here and say bishop a6 c4. After that, white has a clear advantage. Let's just do that. Yeah, 1.1. I mean, come on, that cannot be right. Putting the bishop on that is just a bad square. I mean, I see that the bishop on c8 wasn't brilliant, but at least it looked like it defended something. Maybe you have a hard time to play this. You cannot take e4. White is threatening to take on d5. So what are you doing there? So interesting. Yeah. So what I think is bishop a6 c4 isn't good, and the computer basically says yes, this evaluation is correct, or the position after that is good for white. So what did black do wrong? If this position, like according to the engine, was still okay. Maybe queen b6 and b3 isn't really doing all that much. For a human player, this feels awkward. The black position feels awkward to me. So, really tough to say. Here, I think the issue is simply that white has, if you check this, an important thing to sometimes look at is look at the different areas of the board. On the king side, yeah, if we check, like just look at this box, yeah, we have as white, we have every single piece there. The only exception is the rook, and this is now traded. So maybe let's do this. Here, on the king side, we have everything. Absolutely every single piece is there, and somehow participating in the attack on black's king. And black's pieces are all on the queen side. That cannot be right. That must be a bad position for black. It must be a bad position. So somewhere around here, probably black made a mistake. Sorry, I talk too much today. Somewhere around here must be the issue. And of course, what I just stated, yeah, that this is extremely dangerous, is super obvious for a player of their strength. The thing is, sometimes you drift into this and you say, okay, that is also bad. What am I going to do? I need some kind of counterplay. And then you start to shift things to the other side of the board, and then you get checkmated all of a sudden. Yeah, but if you just sit there passively, it's also no good. Probably somewhere around here. Yeah, queen b6 does make some sense. Yeah, definitely protects c6, but it removes the queen from the defense. This is important, potentially important. So let me just, if you want to cover here, yeah, what about queen to e7, for example? Is that a move? I would suggest e4 as well. Yeah, black's strongest side is the queen side. Isn't he supposed to play there? This is not entirely wrong. The problem is, if you're winning on the queen side and you are checkmated, you know what counts. Yeah? So it has to be a balance. You want some play, but if you have all the pieces on that side of the board, it's very difficult to play this with black. I mean, I would instinctively prefer queen to e7 and keep the queen nearer the king. But what does the computer say? Just curious. The engine gives queen b6. Also b3 and rook a5. Rook a5 is a move that no human player will play. Can forget about that. Is queen e7 a bad move? My suggestion. e4, d4, e6. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that is bad. Okay, I didn't see that one. Yeah, this is a problem. This is an absolute problem. Very nice computer line. And now black's pieces are completely misplaced. That's terrible. Very terrible. Yeah, that was suggested in the chat. Good call. Very nice. That looks very dangerous. So queen e7 wasn't great. Okay, queen to b6. And what is the engine saying here? b3. I mean, at least the quick eval of the computer is still somewhat okay. But I mean, you know, depth 20 is like nothing. Yeah, it's really like nothing. And it's possible that the computer is not really deep enough to see how dangerous white's attack is. And now it already gives white a substantial edge. You know what? I'm calling it. I think black is just worse here. Queen b6. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You're just worse in this position because, yeah, you know, think of AlphaZero, yeah, all those attacking games. It's probably better for white, and the engine just takes time to get this evaluation straight. Sometimes it is like that. At least from a practical point of view, this position looks bad, really bad. And e6, yeah, that is the moment where you know if you're not doing something stupid, you're winning. You're crashing through now, and what is black supposed to do here? He took on e4. Takes, knight takes. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, bishop d4. Knight d6. Wow. Yeah, simply threatening to take him. And it doesn't have squares to go to. Yeah? If you go bishop here, for example, this is probably strong enough. Yeah, it should be enough. So I just wanted to check how this ended. So knight d6, bishop d5, queen e2. And now you're threatening to take and play queen e6. That is probably impossible to fend off. Queen f3 intending here. And resigns. Yeah, you're not surviving this here, and queen f7 over. Now, so was there some kind of defense still? Yeah, maybe around here, yeah, there was something better, but I think in a practical game, wow, that was bad. So somehow black drifted into this position. It's tough to say really where it got downhill. I mean, I have to say that I'm not a huge fan of those setups for black in general. I tried to make this work for me with black, but I couldn't quite manage. So certainly there was some sort of improvement here around move 20 or so, but very, very tough to play. I think it's very understandable, in a way, understandable loss. Yeah, sometimes you really don't know what was going on there, but I think here black drifted into that, getting into some trouble. Yeah, it was difficult, certainly. Yeah, the Kramnik game next, maybe. I only saw in the Kramnik game that Vladimir was playing some really offbeat opening, yeah. this. I saw that this happened. That's a funny move. That doesn't look like it should refute the Grunfeld. Funny. Yeah, I know what he wants to do. I mean, I can tell you what he wants to do. If black is doing something like something slowish, yeah, this, maybe he's trying this East Indian defense. That's funny, right? What is that? East Indian defense. Maybe he wants to get something like this on the board. Yeah, that is an interesting setup that I've played quite a bit. Like here, maybe you transpose into some sort of Grunfeld. Yeah. Yeah, B3. Yeah, I mean it's possible. It's possible certainly to play. I have oftentimes actually recommended to players who wanted a non-theoretical game. I've recommended this move quite a bit, and this is not too bad actually. The idea is to play e4, and if black wants to defend against that by direct means like d5, white can white can play this. Yeah, everybody's shocked now. This is actually quite good and quite playable for white. Yeah, not so bad. This prevents c5, and white tries to expand on the queen side. This is actually, I think, very reasonable for white. Okay, b3 played by Kramnik and c5 played by Grischuk. This is also a response that you see against e3 or knight bd2, and after the capture this is reached. Yeah, and now Grischuk is doing exactly what I would do myself, and in fact have done in a game. He's playing a hedgehog, yeah, with g6, with b6. One thing is interesting here. White has not played the queenside expansion with a3 and b4. The game that I had on the board a couple of years ago had the pawns on a3 and b4, and in this game that I played, I knew what to do because I had an idea what to attack. With the pawn on b4, c4 is unprotected. I mean, it is protected by many pieces, but not by a pawn anymore. And therefore, my idea was to simply trade off everything. Yeah, this is an interesting thing maybe to look at. I'm just going to show you something here. I'm going to show you what happens if white plays with b4. Not that this is terrible. I'm not saying it is. But here, I can just show you an idea that I had played in this game back then. My idea back then was if I trade off simply all the minor pieces, yeah, just to show. Now there's a weakness that I can attack. If all the knights are gone, I mean, I know that makes no sense this move. I just want to show you the general idea. Here, how do we trade this? Yeah? I don't want to trade on e5. Maybe I'm confusing you, but I think I'm getting the point across. In such a situation, yeah, at the end of the day, you can triple against this, and you can lever with b5 and d5. So you know you have to trade off all the minor pieces, and at the end, yeah, you can do that. But in the Kramnik game, white does not have a3 and b4 played. He has this healthy structure. And this b4, it looks more active, but it actually weakens c4 a little bit. Not that white cannot prevent that. Yeah? You're not going to lose there by force, but it is an idea that is now out of the picture with white having this chain of pawns. The knight on d2 feels wrong, and Kramnik is actually replacing it quickly, or regrouping it quickly. Still, this looks like absolutely zilch, yeah? It's probably just equal. Yeah, it must be equal. Must be an equal position. So Grischuk plays completely normal, yeah? Rook c8, queen b8, connecting rooks, potentially doubling on the c file. Yeah, black has b5 and d5. That are black's pawn levers. And this is actually what I'm not sure about here with white's position. White has no pawn lever in this position. He has no way to change the pawn structure. What white can do, and probably will do, is try to get knight to d5. That is the only real plan, and also the reason why the knight now hopped to b1 c3. Yeah, we have Benjamin Feingold in the chat, and he says terrible. Yes. So what exactly is terrible? Tell us. Okay. So again, white maybe can try to put a knight onto d5, but it's also not really easy to do. We would rather have a bishop on g2 and so on. So that is a maneuvering kind of game. Yeah, and let's see what black does. Queen a1. Interesting. Trying to make some pressure here. Black goes a6. Yeah, knight d5 now not possible, yeah, because the rook is unprotected on c2. He moves it. Yeah, maybe now knight d5 is a little bit more likely to happen, but black is still able to probably just trade it. He plays rook fe8. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Now knight d5 would be without a threat. Yeah, if you play knight d5, for example, here, there's simply no threat going on. Yeah. I'm not sure that black should take this on d5. Probably shouldn't. Yeah. Looks a little bit scary to take. Yeah, more than scary. Yeah. Black should not take here. This no. And the weak light squares make a sorry impression. That doesn't look good, but it is not necessary. Yeah, after knight d5, black can simply stay. There's no need to take anything. So rook fd1, bishop a8, just staying basically, and now knight g5. So Kramnik is really going for that regrouping, yeah? With knight h3, f4, d5. Okay. Rook c5. Knight h3 and b5. Yeah, if you can get that in, it's often a good idea. Getting that pawn lever in. Knight f4. Knight f4 is played, okay. Anyway, it's interesting. It's an interesting position. It's not lame or anything. Now white has knight d5 ideas, and now black takes on c4. Okay. Activating this bishop. And rook g5. Funny. Rook swings on the 5th rank or 4th rank are always cool. So black is on that g2 pawn, but white is blocking the diagonal with knight cd5. Okay. And now knight e5 was played. The computer, we already have the computer eval there. The engine wants to take on d5. Ah, yeah, probably like knight takes, bishop g7, and then knight f4, my dears. Instead, knight e5 was played. So if black takes, how does that continue then? I mean, I think this looks weird, yeah? No, with g2. That looks wrong. Yeah, white can probably just take. Yeah, I'm going to Berlin next Friday, and I'm going to do commentary at the site for a couple of rounds. So yeah, that looks like nothing special. Okay, knight e5 was played, and white just dropped back to e2. Okay. It would be nice to see the time spent. Yeah, it's absolutely easily possible that Grischuk already was in time trouble. I mean, that was a completely non-theoretical opening. And this is, of course, always tempting to do against Grischuk. Yeah, he's simply burning time. And just, in some cases, you really don't know what for. I mean, he's certainly thinking about something. And I'm not saying he isn't, but it sometimes feels like a huge, let's say, a gamble, yeah, to invest that much time and then not getting so much out of it. So knight e4 was played. Okay, rook d4. And h4. Wow. Yeah, that rook is in trouble. Let's just f5, yeah. And now e4. Best move was g4 according to the engine. G4 is certainly a move that Kramnik thought about. It looks good, yeah. G4 looks good. I mean, okay, black has to take. Yeah, there's simply nothing else. Pawn takes. I'm just looking at the engine line, and I wonder what Kramnik disliked here. Yeah, you know, it looks a little bit open, but black has simply no attacking pieces at all. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that black has here. The king is not unsafe, it just isn't. Famous last words. Yeah, it could be around here, by the way, but because here knight e7 is not the most natural move ever. Maybe around here there was the issue. But even if you just drop this back to e3, is that bad? Yeah, queen to b7, huh? Yeah, this is a problem. Yeah, but this is the issue here. That's the issue. This works probably just about. Yeah, well, this isn't that good. Very good for white. The engine line. Well, that looks pretty awful. That looks pretty awful. Okay, I see. I can see why g4 is probably better, but it's also indeed a very tough decision. If you don't get knight e7 to work here, I mean, this is not really nice, yeah. Okay, knight e7. And this probably is a lot better. Okay, in the game e4 was played, which also netted the exchange. Like black's pieces are active. Yeah, they have the two fianchettoed bishops and the centralized knights. I mean, white is certainly better, but it's tough. Knight c5. It's a tempo on the queen, and now knight e3. I mean, white must be better due to the material. It's just what it is. Because I mean, black is active, but it's not enough. It cannot be enough compensation. a5. Oh wow, Kramnik just returned the exchange here. That's interesting. I mean, white is better after he returns the exchange, but I'm just wondering if it was necessary or if he just felt like it's a good transformation. That is not clear to me. Like for example, is that a threat or something that you have to react to, or is there a concrete idea that black has? Maybe he just felt it is a good decision. And I mean, if we check this is forced. And here there are some issues. Yeah, for example, you have this idea to take and go knight g4, h6, ideas like that. And simply white is better centralized. And a5 is rather weak, and it adds up. It adds up. I understand that white is better, and the engine, yeah, gives something nice for white as well. Yeah, I think Kramnik's rationale is that this is just a weak pawn, and that is probably enough for a substantial edge. So black has taken bishop c6. Rook b1 is inaccurate, yeah. But if you have no time on the clock, how do you play this accurately? Knight e6 is given as better, and then rook a8. That probably just keeps the pawn, yeah. But this is an endgame position that is just not easy for black at all. It's just awkward to play. And you have a fianchettoed knight, yeah, that's usually also something to avoid. Okay, rook b8, rook c2. Yeah, has to go back, and rook c7. Yeah, that's no good. If white gets here, this is game over, I guess. No, that's no good. Just gave this up. You also have this now, yeah. Rook a3, knight c4, rook trapped. Bishop c6. That was an unsuccessful move. Yeah, probably bishop c6. The engine also says mistake. Okay. I mean, you have simply this idea to play a6, rook c7, a7, and promote this pawn. It's going to be difficult to prevent anyway. Gifting white to tempi probably didn't help. And here black resigned. Bit of an odd game. But probably what worked wonders here was Kramnik's strategy of playing an offbeat opening that just basically get the ball into the game, like in tennis. You just want to serve and see that you have a game going. You have get the ball over the net and then see what happens. And Grischuk burned time, and then some inaccuracies crept in at the end of the or closer to the time control. Probably black isn't in such terrible shape at the odd moment. I mean, the computer evaluations suggest that, but like here, if you see here, like the best move was h5 according to the computer. These are not the most natural moves ever, so they can find, of course, the best moves oftentimes, moves that the engine gives, but the computer takes just some seconds to come up with them. But if you are in time trouble, difficult to do. So I think rather relatively clear victory for Kramnik. He was never worse, and I think his overall strategy worked quite well. Okay, we have Karjakin, Mamedyarov. So here I saw the opening and I was quite surprised about the whole opening play. They played this line, the g6 defense to the Rui. That is sometimes called Smyslov's variation. And this is a line that I always felt is I always felt that this is an interesting line. Here black wants to go bishop g7 to cover, oops, wow, that was wrong, bishop g7 to cover the pawn, and often later go for some play on the king side with f5, a lot later, of course. It's interesting to see that Mamedyarov is trying this line because he has played this variation quite a lot in the past. And this is a related line. For example, if you play like this, black can play, is that the right move order? I think it's the right move order, where black goes g6 here. And this is a way that's quite comparable, let's say, this idea. I'm very surprised that c3 was played and now a6, and what Karjakin is doing now I think is quite surprising. I would absolutely suspect and expect to play bishop a4, he took on c6 and played d4. I don't understand that really, what the point is here. I mean, my understanding of this central structure is that this kind of transformation can only be okay for black. I always thought this must be good for black. Black has the two bishops and he can pressurize the center with easy moves. I mean, that does not put any pressure on black, I thought. But maybe I'm wrong. So bishop g4 was played, immediately putting some pressure on the center. Queen b3, okay. Looking at this. Yeah, very concrete stuff. Interesting. So Mamedyarov is willing to give up b7 and winning d4 in exchange. So how does that work out? If Karjakin would have taken this, what does black do actually? Knight e7 probably. Yeah, knight e7. Yeah, you get that back for sure. Oh, bishop e3 was played. Knight e7, knight c3, and black took on d4. Okay, just grab it. And now he just traded on d4. Yeah, long castles, as the engine suggested here, looks a lot more natural. So what is the engine's line? c5, yeah, that has to be played anyway. And now knight e2, okay. Yeah, that long castles looks more natural, but white probably doesn't have anything. I mean, the engine's line looks fairly logical. And this is probably equal. 6 pawns. It's probably roughly equal. And just looks a bit odd, yeah, to simply take there and take on b7. One issue here is, I mean, simply if you imagine in this, I don't know how the game actually ends, you know. I mean, I know that black wins, but I don't know how exactly. What is the problem here potentially is that I see that white castle's short. This is not really a helpful extra pawn. I mean, it helps a little bit in shielding the king, but it's not something you can do much with. And if stuff just gets traded down, you're not ever going to do much with your pawn. So rook b8 and castles. Yeah, that was no good, yeah? So white rather castled. And rook b2. Queen e7, queen c3, king g2. Wow. So black is winning this. That's tough. So Karjakin didn't put up his defensive magic here in this game. And this is a typical kind of position that he would not lose typically. Lots of typical here. I mean, he's pretty good at playing bad positions, and here he did not manage to hold it. And I don't think it's terrible for white. It's just annoying to play. Knight d5 instead of rook a b8. Yeah, we can look at this. Knight d5. Wow. Wow, okay. I mean, I guess if the pawn takes, are you going rook e8 first? Even queen d3 could be an idea. Yeah, queen d3, yes. And this hangs, and rook e8 is an idea. Like here, that could work, yeah. I just wonder, I mean, white after 95, white does not have to take it. I mean, with the pawn, I mean, you can also take it with this. I mean, like here white is probably okay. Maybe. So in the game, what did happen in the game? So rook c2, rook a1, rook a2. So this position. Okay, wow. So white is losing this. I mean, that's not fun to play. That's definitely the case. But if Mamedyarov wins those kind of positions, he has a good shot of qualifying. So I wonder... I saw that this was on the board, but they got to a queen ending, yeah? Wow, that's an awkward queen ending to play. It really is awkward. That probably took ages, right? How many moves did that take? 71. Oh my god. Queen endings are the worst. Yeah, they take forever. Queen g5 check. I mean, okay, the idea that black has is very simple. Yeah? You need to just push the pawn without getting into a perpetual. This is mostly a calculation job. A queen on e5 makes a good impression. It's just a nicely centralized piece. It prevents every check on that diagonal, and you're ready to push. That makes a lot of sense. So h4, b4, and the queen went here. Yeah, this is now that's a really good setup that he found, and Karjakin, yeah, went e5. I just wanted to suggest that he has to do something like that, just to try to trade. Yeah, black takes here, white takes on b4. So that here would be nothing for white. Yeah, you can easily defend. The pawns look a little bit weird, but it's yeah, it's nothing that black can do much against. So instead b3 was played. And now, what about e6 in this position? He played king g2, yeah? What happens after e6? Can you just push? Ah, of course, yeah. Thanks, yeah. It's been a long day. Yeah, this is much stronger. Sorry. That just gives away a pawn. Yeah. So e6 doesn't work. Probably this is why king g2 was played. Queen to c4. Yeah, I mean, black can probably always keep this under control and keep this as well, but I'm not quite seeing how he makes any headway. Queen b6 for the check, and black frees up this. Okay. Is that really lost for white? I mean, that could still be a draw if... Sorry, there's Isa Vulpus. I cannot really follow your train of thought. It's a bit difficult. So f7, g6. Ah, I see. I see what you mean. That looks very difficult to hold. At least first glance, I would say. That looks difficult to hold. When your king position is so bad with white. Yeah, it's difficult. So how did that turn out? He went f4. I mean, that's true, yeah. What Tried Go says, black will grind it out, and it's not so much important if that is a win or a draw in a theoretical sense, in an analytical sense. But I was just asking myself if that is really is a win. I mean, we see the evals here of the engine, and it gives 0.8. Only here, yeah, it gets into lower territory. King g2. Best move was king h3. Okay. So black managed to play g5. Aha. Okay. And g5. Aha. And you get e5. Okay, that looks very critical now. Now this has to happen. And here b2 was stronger, supposedly, but this makes a lot of sense. Check. And now this one. And now king f1 was better, really. I mean, this is something that the computer should evaluate just pretty much perfectly if you give it enough time. It does make no sense. Edit. And the engine doesn't give much here, yeah? At a reasonable depth. I just wonder what is that? Where's that -4 is coming from? That's weird. Yeah, here b2 was completely winning. Okay. Yeah, the king is quite safe now all of a sudden, yeah. And you're just threatening to move the queen and promote. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, still they are probably in a time trouble here again, so that's understandable. So an end around here. That's still a draw, probably, yeah. King g3. Why would he do that? f4 was stronger. Okay. Huh. Why would he give it away? I mean, I understand that he saw that it is it was hanging. So f4. It's really weird, you know, because I mean here I would assume that black would have to put the queen somewhere here and then play b2 to win, and then you have the checks on the dark squares for probably a perpetual. I didn't feel like he needed to give it away. It's a very bit strange. No, I wouldn't play this more accurately. I'm terrible at those kind of situations. But I'm just wondering, it doesn't make much sense to me why he would give it up. I mean, maybe he was thinking that the pawn is not so relevant and potentially there could be a check here, yeah. Now the king is just coming up. And here somehow resigns him with the move plate. It's a bit unusual. So probably Karjakin did not need to lose this ending, yeah. Tough, no? It's tough if he is not holding this. His main strength didn't come to light, let's say. Yeah, black plate still this, okay. I mean, when he's great at saving bad positions, and that is his main strength, and he couldn't save that one. Yeah, that was a super important game. I think right in the first round. Some things we know, yeah, very likely Karjakin will have trouble to qualify. Very likely, losing with white is bad. And he's not the guy who wins like 5 or 6 games. That won't happen. If he gets to +2 or +3, that is probably the kind of score he can manage. And starting with a loss with white, Mamedyarov is the kind of player you could... where anything can happen in the tournament, and him starting with a win is of course fantastic for him. Yeah, Kramnik is certainly happy with the win, and also Caruana. Caruana didn't have super great last year, so also not a great year. So all the winners are certainly happy. Oh, my voice is completely failing me. All the winners are certainly happy for obvious reasons. But it is really important to note that in such an event, it's 14 rounds, but the players are so close to one another. In the last 3 tournaments, at the end, a +3 score was enough to win and to qualify. I think it was +3. So any win is super important. Of course, for Aronian, nothing is lost, or for Ding, it's just a draw. And we have Aronian Mamedyarov tomorrow. That's a very, very cool pairing. I guess Mamedyarov with white. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, Carlsen is certainly watching the tournament. What else? He will certainly have a look at the games, but, I mean, he is... probably right with the assumption that whoever qualifies is the underdog, and it's mostly about him doing what he does best to win the match. There's nobody, no one of those contenders is a natural candidate to become the next world champion. Nobody. There's nobody in this field is younger than him, significantly younger. And quite obviously nobody is stronger. So it might still happen that we will get a more interesting match with some of those potential qualifiers. Will be interesting to see how it turns out. A good round tomorrow. I'm looking forward to do that. Actually, if you are here in my area, in the Ruhrgebiet in Germany. I'm doing live commentary tomorrow in the chess club of Gelsenkirchen Burhassel, and they have a beamer and everything, and I will be there to do live commentary on the second round. It's free. It's not. They don't have a fee or anything, and you're happy to come to Gelsenkirchen to watch that. Do I think if Carlsen will be world champ in 2020? Yeah, that's just 2 years from now, right? Yeah, that's likely. He just needs to win this match. So, yeah, it's not more. No, it's. I mean, I think he would definitely have the potential to hold the title for a lot longer. I just wonder. How long he's interested in doing that. This is a more interesting question. I don't know the address of the chess club in Gelsenkirchen, Burhassel. Yeah, I can put it in. Yeah, this is where I'm going to do the commentary tomorrow, starting at, it depends, at 3 or 4. I hope to be there on time. I have a league game tomorrow, in fact. And no, Burhassel is the part of the town. It's like Brooklyn belongs to New York or something like that. No, probably people from Brooklyn would argue. I don't know. Yeah. So, okay. Thanks for watching this little walkthrough of the games. It was a relatively brief one. You can dig a lot deeper, but I hope you enjoyed the overview of the games. Thanks a lot for watching. I try to do the same tomorrow evening, but it's a little bit unsure how this turns out. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.